Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the court of the Edijester. How are we, good people? Well, 'tis Monday of the morrow, Monday of the week coming. I'm very excited for this week. Can't tell you why, but you'll find out. You'll find out on Saturday why I'm excited. Right, so, woo, today we are going into the land of Sappho, to the island of Lesbos, and we're going to talk about lesbians, okay? Because lesbians need talking about. And it's not a subject that obviously as a gay man I indulge with much, but I was teaching on Saturday, one of my warrior teacher groups made up of people from the UK and from Canada, and we were doing a bit on lesbians. So you can see it in this picture here, which is the sign of lesbiansunited.org, which is whom I want to bring to the front today for you to engage with one of the resources they produce. But before we do that, I thought we'd just show you a little taste of some of the sort of things that we do on the Warrior Teacher Program. So we've got here, for example, we were doing yesterday the gay movement, not yesterday, Saturday, the gay movement. So we were looking at the work of people like Esme Langley, who was one of the co-founders of the first rights movement in the UK for specifically for lesbians, although they later joined with the gay men to move our rights forward. There was also a woman called Jackie Forster who was in the Dam Busters, and Emily Etten. And those two were absolute powerhouses. So they were quite interesting to know about. There was also a couple of documentaries we noted when we were doing the course. One from Panorama in 64 and one, in 67 about gay men, and one from 67 about lesbians. So that was quite interesting. But I found this artifact that I thought I'd share with you before we start proper, because it's just wonderful. And it's from the 20th Century magazine, and it was written by a woman called Dilys Rowe. And I'm just going to give you the opening line. Here it is. Right? The homosexual wants to be accepted by society for what he is, particularly the male homosexual. It is not so difficult for a woman. You can always be a female homosexual in this country as long as you breed dogs or keep a cake shop. This is how upper-class straight women saw lesbians in 1967. It tickles me every time I see it, and it certainly tickled the team on Saturday when we were teaching. This is the kind of nonsense we engage with on the Warrior Teacher Program. Oh, well, it reminds me, come and join us for starting in November. That wasn't the main reason I've got you sat watching or listening to me today. That's just wonderful. As long as you breed dogs or keep a cake shop. What I wanted to do was draw your attention to a tweet from Lesbians United here, which says, this is the most important document you'll read in 2022. It's Big Pharma's smoking gun, hundreds of peer-reviewed studies documenting horrific effects of puberty blockers, and an expose on the trans lobby's bad science. Keep sharing until the fight is won. Now, it's appropriate for me to share this with you because, A, they are an important movement alongside many of us who are doing what we can to stop all this. But B, you remember yesterday in the morning, I think it was yesterday morning, I covered a Fruit Loop in Canada. And that particular Fruit Loop was saying how they're harmless. And I thought, well, we're going to need something that can say they're not. And this is possibly the best resource that you can get your hands on. Certainly one that might be useful to parents, for example, when getting schools not to push gender identity, which is dangerous to children. So this is what's called puberty suppression, medicine or malpractice. And it comes, as you can see, from Lesbian United. Now, so they've also got a Substack, right? The Substack is here on Lesbian United. There you can see the logo that we've already seen, and you can subscribe and follow them if you wish to, along with 998 others, including Graham Linehan and Roisin Michaud. And then they will keep you up to date with what's going on. But I thought we'd take a brief and quick look or quick trip through the actual document itself that lesbianunited.org have put through and what's in the index and why does it make it so useful. As you can see here, it's called Puberty Suppression, Medicine or Malpractice, and we can scroll down to see who's been involved in this report that was prepared. Now, this was a grassroots lesbian-only organisation based in the US, and these people work on a voluntary basis, no financial conflict of interest to declare. But they've got endorsements and support for this project provided by a number of other groups there, as you can see, not just those that are limited to the United States. So we've got the Get the L Out of LGBT, Lesbian Action for Visibility in Aotearoa, Lesbian Fight Back, Lesbian Labour, Lesbian Me Too, Lesbian Strength, Resistance Lesbienne, Resistance Lesbienne. I didn't know that existed. How wonderful is that? And Scottish Lesbians. Okay to do. So this is an international thing. It's a international thing. And it's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution for non-commercial use. So you can say, here's what it is, and you can share it freely. I'm sure they won't mind. And then we can have a look at the contents page, which goes here from the introduction, the gender dysphoria diagnosis, suppressing puberty, history and use of puberty suppressing drugs, evaluation of sources, and then evidence. So you've got a number of things there: global effects, skeleton, cardiovascular system and diabetes risk, thyroid, brain, mental health, sexuality and reproductive systems, digestive system and urinary tract, pain and discomfort, other effects and reversibility. And in the conclusions, we have a state of research, overview of evidence, closing remarks, followed by a bibliography for further reading. This is an extensive report that needs to be shared as widely as possible. So the links to this are in the Dubris, that I would ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to share again, far and wide. I know I keep asking you to do that. So the abstract says here, in recent years, it has become standard practice for doctors in the United States and other countries to prescribe puberty-blocking drugs to adolescents who express dissatisfaction with their bodies or social roles. These drugs are often referred to as a pause button, a reversible intervention that gives adolescents time to explore, allows families to consider options for future medical intervention, and prevents the worsening of mental illness. However, a substantial body of research suggests that puberty-blocking drugs carry a significant risk of harmful and potentially irreversible side effects, and the purpose of this document is to collect the highest quality studies on puberty-blocking drugs and present their findings. This document's primary research questions are as follows. What are the effects of puberty-blocking drugs on the developing body? What are the effects of puberty-blocking drugs on mental health? And to what degree, if any, are these effects reversible? So this is pre-CAS 2022, this work done here by lesbians.org, lesbiansunited.org. So I would say that this is something that is well worth looking at. It is a nice complement to CAS and is done from a US perspective, which I think is also interesting. We can go down to the bottom and you can see that the bibliography is very extensive there. The work that they've done in order to get this together covers, a multitude of pages. We're not even back at A yet. So there is a serious amount of work has gone into this to highlight all of these resources and all of these references that are so important in understanding where we are going wrong with this. And then the closing remarks are as follows. Currently, the research on GnHR agonists, which is puberty blockers, as a treatment for adolescents diagnosed with gender dysphoria is of extremely low quality. They were drawing the conclusion on this one before CAS, while CAS was doing her research. High quality research on the effects of GnRH agonists in adults indicate that these drugs have a number of detrimental side effects. Several side effects have been shown to be at least partially reversible, and it is theoretically possible that adolescents taking these agonists will not experience the same side effects as adults. Nevertheless, we now know this is not true, or that at the time that they put this together, there was not the further evidence that we now have. So bear that in mind when you're reading as well. They're talking about watchful waiting, psychotherapy. Further research into both alternative is therefore warranted. In other words, they're really sort of foreshadowing what CAS is going to say, although CAS provides more up-to-date information because this was done in 2022. Nevertheless, a very useful document with a particular overview of evidence here, as you can see, that breaks down what the probable effects are likely to be of puberty-blocking drugs, which flies in the face of the ridiculous notion from that lunatic in Canada that they're harmless. So again, link in the Dubris, this could be very useful. This is the sort of thing that parents should be showing to teachers in order to tell them that teachers need to shut the hell up about this cobblers and teach it for what it is, a damaging belief system that preys on the body of children. That's what it should be for primarily, I think. Whether Lesbians United might agree with me or not is a completely different thing. I'm sure they'll let me know. Other than that, all I can say is, the homosexual wants to be accepted by society for what he is, particularly the male homosexual. It is not so difficult for a woman. You can always be a female homosexual in this country as long as you breed dogs or keep a cake shop. It just makes me laugh every time. Become a warrior teacher. Sign up to my Substack if you can, please. It's the end of the month. It's only $2.50. Everything you need, links, etc., all in the Dubris. It's great to talk to you and good to bring you this kind of content. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye then.